What's up, Yang Gang? How's everybody doing? We're doing this Ghost for Yang review today in my bedroom with Baby Groot looking over our shoulder. Two reasons. One, you know, Baby Groot is Yang Gang. I heard he got a call from a pollster and they said, "Hey, do you support Andrew Yang?" And he said, "I am Groot." And basically, that's I speak Groot, and that's Groot for yes, I support a universal basic income, democracy dollars, a Medicare for all plan that is exactly Andrew Yang's definition of it. So of course, Groot's Yang Gang. But the second reason that I got my man Groot here is I'm a little bummed out. And I'm bummed out because today's Ghost for Yang review is for Joe Biden's inspiring but heartbreaking memoir, Promise Me Dad. This book, Promise Me Dad by Joe Biden, was published in November of 2017, and it is mostly an account of Joe's second term as vice president, during which his son Beau Biden, then the Attorney General of Delaware, is diagnosed with brain cancer and ultimately loses his battle and his life. This book broke my heart, man. It's easy to get swept up in the campaign, think your person is the only right person for the job. I get that, but each of these people are human beings, and this is a man that has faced some loss. When Joe was first elected to Congress, shortly after the election, he lost his wife and baby to a car accident, an accident that the young Beau survived. Joe almost didn't assume office because he was so overwhelmed with grief, but ultimately picked himself up and was able to. So when Beau's situation comes around, unfortunately, this is something that Joe has been through before. So the book opens on the Bidens at Thanksgiving in 2014. They're going to Nantucket, which is the Biden nuclear family tradition. Beau had been diagnosed 15 months prior, and all that Joe can think is that he hopes they have more time together. At this time, Beau was a rising star as a politician. He's Delaware's Attorney General, even has plans to run for governor. And Joe even states that the thought was when Joe himself would leave office as VP, wouldn't be too long until Beau himself would be making a run at the presidency with his brother Hunter's help. But obviously, all of that is now completely a mystery because Beau is fighting brain cancer. Joe muses that he's very excited for his term as VP to end. He wants to get back to his family. But Beau says to him, "You have to run, Dad." So then the book takes us through a brief history of vice presidents. How many of the men who served that position felt it was a waste of time? But Joe had been particularly active in his time as vice president. When Obama was vetting Biden for the job, Joe asked Barack if he was for real that he wanted counsel across all issues. And Obama said yes. And Biden's request was that he be allowed to give the last word on any advisement that Obama was seeking. A bunch of people in the room. Biden wanted to be the person that gave the last word. Still, of course, ultimately Obama's decision on what course of action he took. And Obama agreed. Biden says that on days when he and Obama were in Washington together, they averaged 4.5 hours together any one of those days. He also points out that Obama never once seemed rifled by others' criticisms, which is a nice little subtle dig at Donald Trump. About halfway through his Biden's second term, he has a meal with Hillary Clinton, who informs him as a courtesy that she plans to run. Biden notes that there's almost a twinge of sadness about her as she leaves, as if she wasn't genuinely excited this time. We get a lengthy discussion of Russia's attacks on Ukraine. There's actually a lot of Ukraine in this book about Biden trying to root out corruption there. Pretty interesting given the state of the news today. Biden minces no words about his feelings towards Putin and is quick to point out Biden himself's foreign policy credentials. Politics, both domestic and global, as Biden says, is all about building trust and relationships. In the most heart-wrenching section of the book, right around two-thirds of the way through, Joe Biden is managing Iraq's back and forth battles with ISIS, which is waging combat in Tikrit and Ramadi, while Beau's condition deteriorates. The family makes the risky decision, of course, advised by doctors, to have Beau injected with a live virus, one that will weaken him immensely, but hopefully also attack his cancer. Even Obama sheds a tear over Beau when Biden tells him about his worsening state. Hunter Biden, little infamous these days, is given the news lately, is by Beau's side constantly. There's some attention given to the need to update our healthcare system. Because Beau is moving between hospitals, there's a delay in treatment because the hospitals use different software, and to share information, the doctors are literally FaceTime each other to show brain scans. And so Joe says this is a huge thing that needs to happen with American infrastructure. We've got to get hospitals all on the same software or able to share information in real time. Finally, Joe hears the most devastating words he will ever hear in his life. The doctor tells him 4 words: he will not recover. The family comes to say goodbye, and Biden thinks, my God, my boy, my beautiful boy. President Obama delivers remarks at Beau's funeral. Soon, Biden has received over 70,000 pieces of condolences in his office. He's eager to pour himself back into work and keep going. This comes from Biden's experiences with grief. Earlier in the book, Biden meets with the widow of a cop who's been killed and gives her his private number. Apparently, there are many people that have the vice president's private number, all of whom are dealing with some form of grief, and he's always there to answer. He tells himself at this time what he tells them. There will be terrible days, but as time goes on, they will be fewer and farther between. And someday, you'll think of the person you lost, and your first instinct won't be sadness, but joy. The Beau Biden Foundation is carried on in Beau's memory, with its goal of ending child abuse. The last segment of the book discusses Biden's will he, won't he run for president decision as of late 2015. There are pressures on him for both courses, but in particular, the Clinton machine is looking very formidable. And there's even a perceived danger that if at this time for the Democratic Party, with Bernie Sanders as a rising star, if Biden runs, he and Clinton would split the vote, and then Bernie himself would ascend. Take what you will from that. We all have our opinions on how the DNC operates and has tried to stack the deck against Sanders, or more accurately, just for anyone who they think is going to further their specific agenda. An article comes out that hurts Joe deeply, implying that Beau's deathbed wish was for Biden to run, and implying that Joe was using the death as a way to launch his campaign. No, the phrase "promise me, Dad" does not mean Beau was asking his father to run on his deathbed. Beau was saying, promise me you'll be okay. Biden says that he wants to spend the rest of his years spending as much time with his family as possible and doing everything he can to make the world a better place. He's completely drawn to recede from public life and soak up life with his loved ones. But his wife, children, and even Joe himself know that he's also hardwired to do everything he can to better the country if he's in a position to do it. So that's Promise Me, Dad. What are my thoughts on it, especially as a diehard Yang Ganger? I got lots of love for Joe Biden. I've been a big Joe Biden fan since the 2008 campaign. Loved him as Obama's Veep pick because he clearly didn't seem like a political calculation. He clearly did seem that Obama wanted to have someone who was going to be his right-hand man. Yes, he's old school. Early on in the book, they go by a cinema, and he calls it a movie house. I haven't heard that since Jimmy Stewart and Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. Yes, he's got a righteous streak. He believes in the work he does, that it's for the public good. I mean, this is a man who has been in elected office since he was 27 years old. I think Joe Biden genuinely believes that he can make this country a better place. He's not one of my top contenders. My personal feelings at this point in time, 2019 in America, let's throw a progressive in there. Let's see what happens. Let's see if we can genuinely move this country forward. I think Biden would be a fine president if it weren't for the fact that some of the things we're facing, in particular climate change, need right now solutions. And I don't think we can. I think it's riskier to go with a quote-unquote safe choice, to say nothing of what it would look like of Biden versus Trump in the general. I think our country needs an Andrew Yang at its head. But let's not discount Biden's experience. The media is painting a narrative about his age, his bombastic nature, and both are accurate characteristics, but this book brought back the human being in Joe Biden to me. I'm going to make an effort to keep an open mind about his campaign. He's a very experienced statesman who's deeply concerned about the direction of the country. And at the same time, I want to say, Joe, you've earned the right to relax. I'm not telling you that you should. You've got a motor, brother. You have got a motor. But the work you've done over your epic political career has made a difference. And our generation is fired up and ready to pick up that ball if you're ready to pass it. If you want to spend time with your family, we have other ways of steering this country in the right direction. A lot of really good candidates that are in this race across the blue political spectrum, and even a man like Yang who's drawing in Trump supporters, libertarians, etc. We got this if you are ready to step down, and it does nothing to diminish the work that you've done for this country so far. So mad respect to you and your family, Joe, and I want to raise a glass to your son, Beau, and to the entire Biden family, but in particular, Beau. I didn't know much about Beau Biden myself before this book, and he sounds like an absolute lion as a person, and I really am glad I got to know him through this book. And I know it's been years, but I'm sure the loss still feels fresh at times. So to the Biden family, condolences, and in particular to Joe, man, kudos to you for keeping your family together through this time while serving as the Vice President of America. To you, Beau. That was today's somewhat somber Ghost for Yang review. We'll have another one up shortly. If you like what you're seeing on this channel, please like, comment, and subscribe. The goal with this channel and this first project diving into all these memoirs is to build a dialogue across supporters of different campaigns. So I really like the people that I'm really grateful to the people that have engaged so far. And as always, vote. Make sure you're registered to vote. Make sure you know when your primary date is. Make sure you know what is on your ballots, not just the candidate you like, but what propositions, what are the local pieces of legislation you should be aware of. This is how our country moves forward and how we truly take back power to the people. So good night, y'all, and to Beau.